What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We have an absolutely amazing video for you guys today. I'm going to be breaking down the top 3 fantasy running back trade targets that are must-adds to your fantasy team.
Call me a
I believe one of them you'll be able to get at a great value, and he will be a league winner this year. Before we get into it, do me a huge favor. If you like the content, drop a like. Remember, subscribe for more content and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Let's get right into it. First up on this list, we have Colts rookie running back Jonathan Taylor.
The Indianapolis Colts select Jonathan Taylor, running back, Wisconsin.
As of this day, Jonathan Taylor is currently 14th in the NFL with 89 rushing attempts, but he's also coming off of his bye week right now, which I think will be huge for him, and here's why. Taylor was not expected to start the year. It was Marlon Mack. However, when Mack went down in week 1, Taylor was thrust into a role that he wasn't prepared for, as there was no rookie training camp and there was no preseason for him to get more acclimated to the NFL, both speed and play calling wise. However, I think this bye week will be absolutely massive for Jonathan Taylor, as he's going to be able to learn the playbook better, rest his body, and be more prepared for the NFL going forward. On the year, Jonathan Taylor has 90 attempts for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. And although the groundwork hasn't been absolutely dominant for Taylor, this Colts offensive line is phenomenal, and they're starting to get Taylor more involved in the passing game, as last week he had 4 for 55. The combination of Taylor getting more involved in the passing game, as long as getting more work on the ground, paired with the schedule he comes up, sets up for an absolutely dynamite second half. Coming out of the bye, his matchups are so juicy.
What?
This week, he gets 29th ranked Detroit Lions, followed by a very tough matchup at Baltimore, but that's his only tough matchup left. After Baltimore, though, the schedule is absolutely phenomenal to set your team up for a playoff run and to make a deep playoff run this year. After Baltimore, Jonathan Taylor gets the 20th ranked Tennessee Titans, followed by the 31st ranked Green Bay Packers, followed again by the 20th ranked Tennessee Titans. Those 3 games will be huge for Taylor to get more involved in the groundwork and passing game as well, and I really look for him to take command of this backfield. It gets even better after Tennessee, though, as Taylor gets the 32nd ranked dead last Houston Texans. After Houston, Taylor gets the 29th ranked Las Vegas Raiders, followed by the 32nd ranked Houston yet again. The downside to Taylor is that if you're in the fantasy championship in week 16, he does get the Pittsburgh defense, which has been beyond stingy all year and super impressive. Again, the numbers for Taylor coming out of the bye for defenses giving up points to fantasy running backs are 29th, 4th, 20th, 31st, 20th, 32nd, 29th, 32nd, 3rd, and if you do have a Week 17 championship, he gets Jacksonville, who's 26th in the NFL. Also, the reason I believe you'll be able to buy Taylor low is that he has not lived up to what fantasy owners have hoped for him so far. And coming out of a bye, fantasy owners kind of lose track of where their players are sometimes. And I believe he's an absolutely fantastic trade target right now and a must-add to your squad. Last year, the Colts rushing offense was one of the absolute best in the NFL. And while they have struggled this year, I really look for the bye to give them a phenomenal opportunity to get healthy, get together, and get back on track. What exactly you want to trade for Taylor will be based on your team and how your roster is constructed. But I believe that being able to give up an RB3, RB2, and a receiver 2, receiver 3 for getting Taylor, who I really believe will be a stud running back 1 throughout the rest of the year, could very much so be worth it. Drop it in the comments below what you're thinking of trading for Taylor, and we'll have a good discussion about what you should do. Some of the players I would look to sell for are guys that are coming off of big weeks or have downturns coming in their future. James Robinson's coming off a huge week. Joe Mixon's injured. Miles Sanders are both injured. I would look to see if maybe someone would value their name more than Jonathan Taylor right now. I would also seriously consider moving Clyde Edwards-Helaire for him, with Le'Veon Bell now getting work as well. And I would also think about Kareem Hunt with Nick Chubb coming back. With the combination of coming off a bye, the schedule, getting more involved in the passing game, and his absolute talent coming out of Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor is a must trade for right now, this week, before he goes off against the Detroit Lions and his price goes way up. Next up on the list, and second overall for our running back fantasy trade targets, we have Chase Edmonds. I've always been a huge proponent of Chase Edmonds, both passing and running work on the ground, and felt like he was more talented than Kenyon Drake all year. However, Cliff Kingsbury wasn't really giving him his touches as much as he should be. But after last night, when Kenyon Drake goes down, and even though we are unsure of the severity of the injury, it looked pretty serious. Chase Edmonds is going to be a potential fantasy stud going forwards in that Arizona offense with Kyler Murray at quarterback. Currently, the only other running back on the Arizona roster is Eno Benjamin, and I have no fear about Eno taking any real work away from Chase Edmonds at all. Edmonds is phenomenal pass catching, and he's going to be used in a 2-minute drill. He's a 3-down back for Cliff Kingsbury in that offense, and while he may have had a slow start to the year, it was simply due to his touches, not his production or value when given those touches. Edmonds' schedule is also super favorable going forward. Coming off of this Seattle game, next week they'll take on the 25th ranked Miami Dolphins, who will be starting Tua for the first time. The 18th ranked Buffalo Bills, who let Derrick Henry run wild on them. They get Seattle again, where he looked super good when given his touches last night. Followed by New England, who's 23rd in the league for defensive running back points given up, and they got absolutely demolished by the 49ers running backs yesterday. Followed by Philadelphia, who's 11th, and then he closes out the year against San Fran and the Los Angeles Rams. With a schedule like this and a massive uptick in volume for Chase Edmonds coming up, I believe he is an absolutely phenomenal trade target and almost a must-own going forward at this point. If you're a Kyler Murray owner, I love the combination of having those two on the team. This Arizona offense is potent enough to get into the end zone many times, and with having both Chase Edmonds and Kyler, you'll basically guarantee yourself that you're going to be a part of the touchdown in one way or another. The only downside to Edmonds, as is with any running quarterback's running back in that offense, is that Kyler is so darn talented on the ground that he's bound to take a touchdown or two away from Chase Edmonds. The same way Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, all these guys end up kind of poaching touchdowns from the running backs. However, I still believe that with Edmonds going into a bye this week and coming off of a game where the final stat number will not show how productive he actually was or the value that he's now going to be able to add with the uptick in volume, I think you'll be able to buy him at a pretty good price. And he is absolutely a running back that I would love to roster for the rest of the year and going into the playoffs to make a playoff push and then truly compete in those playoffs. If you are in the playoffs with Chase Edmonds and you're going by week 13 and 14 for the first round, you're going to get the Rams, who are 14th, and the Giants, who are 22nd. And I see those both being phenomenal opportunities for Chase Edmonds in the playoffs. Lastly on this list, we have Las Vegas Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. And this one was tough for me to figure out because his schedule is difficult going forward. And while he's had 5 touchdowns on the year, all 5 have come in 2 games, with 3 in week 1 and then 2 just a few weeks ago, all in the same game. The reason I believe Josh Jacobs is still a phenomenal trade option is that he came off of a bye and then had a down week. So fantasy owners may be kind of hesitant on where they feel about Josh Jacobs. Most likely Jacobs was their RB1, and in which case he let them down heavily the last 2 weeks, and he has a couple times throughout the year. However, Jacobs is still the workhorse in that offense with a phenomenal offensive line. And I really believe that the reason he struggled so much this week was a 2-factor. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line has been absolutely phenomenal, stopping the run and getting to the passer, which I believe really affected that game. It was also a negative game script as they were down most of the time and unable to use him how they'd like to. And most importantly, the whole offensive line was dealing with COVID complications. And while it was at first projected that the whole offensive line was going to be out, they did end up playing. I believe that absolutely did affect them in their ability to run block. Going forward, however, now that we're past Tampa, Josh Jacobs gets Cleveland, who's 13th, the Chargers, who are 12th, Denver, who's 2nd, followed by Kansas City, who's 17th, Atlanta, 15th. Here's where it gets juicy, though. If your playoffs start in week 13, Las Vegas is taking on the New York Jets, who are 24th in the league, giving up points to running backs in fantasy. It does get tough in week 14 with the Indianapolis Colts. However, if you're able to win that first fantasy matchup and you're in the championship, you get the 12th ranked Chargers. And in the final week of fantasy football, if you have week 17, he gets the 25th ranked Miami Dolphins. Now look, Jacobs has been a workhorse his entire career so far. They give him his touches and they're getting him more involved in the passing game as well. And even though the production hasn't been there at the level that Josh Jacobs owners want to see, he's still currently 5th in the NFL in attempts for running backs, And I believe that is the main reason that he's such a great buy low candidate. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you liked the video, do me a favor, drop a like, and comment down below who your running back fantasy trade targets are. Be sure to check out the other videos on the channel, as we're gonna also have the top 3 wide receiver fantasy trade targets, and as well as a week 8 preview. We're gonna be breaking down games coming up this week and looking at the betting lines, the over, the unders, and what we predict will happen. Peace out, guys.
See you again.